We're recording now. Fantastic. All right. So today we wanted to talk about, we wanted to get a little bit of update on the world around us, immune systems, COVID, good stuff like that, masks, all that. Could you give us an update on that and then transition into the type 2 diabetes discussion?
Okay. So I've when this idea was brought up for this topic, I was like, okay, do I talk about the political part of it or the health part of it? Because they're two very separate things. There's a lot of politics involved in the pandemic, and not a lot of health. So people aren't talking about the health; they're talking about the politics of it. So should you get a vaccine or should you not get a vaccine? Well, politically, you should get a vaccine. And so that's the way I look at it, because I work in a nursing home, and I don't see, I see that the risks of the vaccine are this and the benefits of the vaccine are this. So I look at it as the risks outweigh the benefits, and therefore I would not normally, for health reasons, get the vaccine. But for political reasons, there's other reasons to do it. So if you have to travel somewhere and you need the vaccine, okay, then that's a political reason to get the vaccine. For me, I'm medical director of a nursing home, and the administrator says, look, if our medical director won't get the vaccine, how am I going to get the nurses to get the vaccine? And we have to have 70% by the end of this month and 100% by September 30th, according to the state of California. So to get vaccinated. So I'm getting the vaccine. I'm going to get it. And I know it's risky. I know. Well, you know what? Life is a risk, and you just take risks and you do the best you can with what you have. And people have taken risks for centuries, when people are called into battle to go to war for their country. Yeah, well, that's a risk, and for what? Well, because somebody didn't like somebody else higher up, and you're going to go and kill innocent people. And that's it's always been a problem, and that's since the beginning of time. So this is some things you just have to do politically, even though it's not for health reasons, it's politically expedient. So you have to do it. And so that's where I find myself. And so I can't make decisions for any of you to say what's the best way to do it, but I can talk about the health reasons and the health things. So there was a study done in Massachusetts, and they looked at the outbreak of the coronavirus in Massachusetts, and they found about 70% of them were people who were vaccinated. And they're like, what the heck? The vaccine doesn't work at all. So the CDC said, okay, whether you're vaccinated or not, you have to wear a mask. So, people were told, well, if I get vaccinated, then I don't have to wear a mask anymore. And they said, well, the vaccine doesn't work. So if you're vaccinated, you still have to wear a mask because you're still likely to get it and spread it. So they said, well, the vaccine doesn't prevent the illness, because vaccines generally don't prevent you from getting the illness, but they do prevent you from getting super sick and getting into the hospital. Well, it turns out that's not actually correct either. It turns out they're asking us to get a 2-year-old flu vaccine, and the current influenza, the current epidemic of influenza, which is really coronavirus this year. But there are other ones going on. Respiratory syncytial virus is going around, which actually test positive on your COVID vaccine, COVID-19 test too. So the test is kind of wishy-washy too. You're not sure if you have coronavirus, COVID-19, or respiratory syncytial virus, because either one of those viruses will come up positive on your test. So, but either way, those are flu viruses. Those are influenza, annual ILI, influenza-like illness. So, if if you have the vaccine, you have a vaccine against a 2-year-old virus. We already know there's at least 5, and there's likely many more, but there's been characterized 5 different strains of this coronavirus that the vaccine doesn't help at all. Everybody's worried about the Delta variant, and they forgot that there's an alpha, beta, gamma, delta, delta, gamma, and lambda. There's a whole bunch of variants out there, and the vaccine doesn't help for any of them. And so they're telling people, well, get a 3rd shot. Well, a 3rd shot of a 2-year-old vaccine is not going to help this year's strain. It's ridiculous. That's why they had to have flu shots every single year. People were getting flu shots every single year because it changes every year. All the flus do. Why? Because they have a reservoir among like animals and humans, and they go back and forth. And so their proteins change, and they change enough that the antibodies that you made from the vaccine a year ago are no longer any good for this year. And of course, we know that. That's been characterized, it's been done. And yet they're still asking us to get a vaccine from a 2-year-old virus. It makes no sense for your health. It's not a health thing. This is all just a political thing. So expediency is another reason for doing things, and not necessarily because it's the best. Now, you should know that there are risks and benefits. The risks of the vaccine itself are about 2.7% according to the CDC. But if we look at the VAERS system, the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, it looks like it may be much more than that. And that even underestimates by 90%-ish. It depends. There was one study at Harvard that said the VAERS system, the Vaccine Event Reporting System, it reports that they get reports for about 1% of the total number of vaccine adverse events. So we may be looking from 10 to 100 times what is reported, in which case we're looking at, people are dying from the vaccine. A lot of people are dying from the vaccine, and people are getting sick from the vaccine, and they have permanent damage to their heart. Young, healthy people are getting permanent cardiomyopathies from the vaccine. And so what was thought to be really rare, it turns out it isn't as rare as they thought. So there are risks to it. And what your risk is, you could do a percentage, but what does a percentage mean to somebody who has, heart damage, or who's lost a family member? I had one of my patients, she came in and she told me her nephew and her uncle, her nephew died 1 week after getting the vaccine, and of a cardiomyopathy, and then his father, her uncle, her brother, died. His father died 2 weeks after getting the vaccine of a blood clot. So there are risks, and then what are the benefits? Well, getting an old vaccine, a 2-year-old vaccine, you've lost all the benefit, because now the coronavirus has changed enough. You have enough different strains that you're talking about something that's not working anymore.
Hey, Dr. Saunders. So this issue is definitely polarizing and divisive in some ways, and like a lot of what you said is true, but we're not hearing it in the mainstream media. So the media is constantly telling us, like, it depending on what you watch, but especially like CNN, they're constantly like shaming people for not getting the vaccine and talking about how that's the only way to be healthy. And it's like there's a lot of misinformation, and like it's maddening to me, but there's people that actually think that, if you're not vaccinated, you're killing people, and it's ridiculous. And so where can we do our own independent research to find like what is truly going on here? Because we have someone commenting here that's saying that you are sharing misinformation and disillusion and stuff. It's like, okay, fine. I know there's millions of people that feel that way or whatever, but like, how do you get to the truth of what's really going on here? Or can the average person like me?
You don't have to go much farther than the CDC. So there was a reason the CDC said that people who are vaccinated have to wear masks. And essentially they said because the vaccine doesn't work. So that's, I mean, the government is saying this. This isn't something I made up. I have an urgent care, and at the urgent care, we have about 50% of the people that come in with positive COVID-19 tests are vaccinated. So the 50-50, well, about 50% of the population is vaccinated. So it's not any different. It's not, there was one claim that people were getting worse because of the vaccine, and that's not quite right either. It's probably just not effective.
Yeah.
So
well,
where
then,
do we,
yeah. And masks themselves are questionable on if they're helping.
So there's a really good source for that. The FLCCC, the frontline doctors, have put together on their website. They have all kinds of the studies that were done, the studies that the NIH did on masks, the studies on the vaccines. And what's really cool about this is they put on there what to do about it, the studies that actually help. So something you can do for people to prevent and to treat the COVID-19, so that you actually have something of benefit rather than what the everybody's crazy ideas. And so that would be a very good source to look up to get that information.
What do you recommend now as someone who has had COVID, and I worked with you, you're my doctor, what do you recommend, which I know what you're going to say, for people who do get COVID?
Okay, so if you have it, ivermectin is clearly an antibiotic that is just about, if you get it at the right time, 100% effective at preventing people from death and disability after they get COVID. So on the FLCCC website, they explain what the dose is, how it's administered, what you're going to do if you contact it. So, for example, in Brazil, when they did studies on in families, if one person in the family had COVID-19 and they gave ivermectin to everyone in the household, they never had one single case of COVID-19 come up. Nobody else ever came up positive or got any illness. So you can do it prophylactically, and they explain that, or you can do it once you get it, and the treatment's different depending on what it is. And that works very well. In Peru, they had some research with doing every other week, just taking a dose of ivermectin every other week. And over a large population, they didn't have any cases in those that were taking ivermectin every other week. So prophylactically it can be used, and then treatment, it's a different protocol. And so you would take it every day for 5 days. So that's good, but making sure of one thing, make sure you have enough vitamin D. Vitamin D is, the vitamin D binding protein is macrophage activating factor. And so that vitamin D is essential for activating the macrophages, or the cellular immunity, so that you can get rid of the virus before it becomes a problem. And when studies are done consistently all over the world, every study done on vitamin D shows at least improvement, and mostly like dramatic results, where in the Philippines, for example, they just looked at ICU admissions in people who were already sick. So people who were already sick, if their vitamin D level was less than 30, they were 85% likely to end up in an ICU. If their vitamin D level was higher than 30, not percent, 30, they were only 15% likely to end up in an ICU. There was just a dramatic difference in the number of people who got really sick, if depending on their vitamin D level. The other two things, zinc is a very important part of the immune system. So keeping your zinc levels up so the immune system functions well. And then you can take quercetin, which helps the zinc to get into the cells and it's used better. And then vitamin C. So vitamin D, zinc, quercetin, vitamin C. And all those are spelled out actually on that FLCCC website in the right dosages and all that stuff.
Quick little plug, shameless plug for Barton Nutrition, but let's see here. We have all those ingredients in Synachroma and Immune Support. So Synachroma has vitamin D3, 5,000 IUs, or was it 625 micrograms, or I don't remember what they changed that a little bit, but somebody asked how much vitamin D daily, and is it 5,000 IUs?
Yeah, 5,000 IUs is on the low end. 10,000 is on the high end. So between 5 and 10,000 a day.
Okay. And then our immune support formula has vitamin C, it has quercetin, it has N-acetylcysteine, reishi mushroom, echinacea, green tea extract, elderberry, vitamin E, and zinc. So this is a really good formula. Highly recommend this. We just restocked this in for Barton Nutrition. So check that out at bartonnutrition.com. Use the coupon code webinar25 too to save 25% off.
And there was,
yeah, go ahead.
There was one other thing, and that is in some states, the states, they haven't told the doctors anything, but they tell the pharmacies not to fill prescriptions, and then doctors are looked down upon if they fill a prescription or if they write a prescription for ivermectin. So it's kind of hard to get it in some states. So one of the things you may have to do, the FLCCC website has ways that you can get ivermectin. And that's, I've had people from all over the country find it that way. So yeah, I don't have special access to it either. You know, I've had plenty of pharmacists say, no, we're not going to fill your prescription. And there's no health reason for doing that. It's just a political thing.
Mm-hmm. And if you know anybody that has horses, they a veterinarian, or not a veterinarian, horse supply store or whatever, they do sell ivermectin there, and I don't think you need a prescription. So just go find a horse. Go ride horses.
From me. You guys didn't hear me say that.
We'll mention our disclaimer one more time here.
And
just
if
Google
you
it.
Start whinnying, it's not my supply.
Right.
But I will say though, I get in a lot of groups because I tend to be someone who loves to do my own research. And I'm in a lot of groups where people have actually gone to the farm and ranch supply stores and have gotten theirs. So it's not something that is unheard of. In fact, some of the places were actually running out of it because of this. And I just find that interesting. So
Tractor Supply. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit. So you brought this up a little bit earlier. So there's risks on both sides. There's also fear on both sides. And so I just want to encourage people, regardless if you're vaccinated, not vaccinated, get COVID, don't get COVID, like it's important to live by faith and not succumb to fear, because everyone around us has an agenda to keep us in fear, which is what you need to do to control people. And so we highly recommend do all you can to live by faith, trust God, trust your gut instinct, trust the spirit inside you to lead you, and to do what's like natural, and think about like I just highly recommend what Dr. Saunders is saying, and I thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that you're going to be vaccinated, because I know that's probably was difficult for you, but like it goes to show like, yeah, there's risks on both sides, and sometimes you have to do things that are political that you don't want to do, but I know you're going to be operating in faith regardless, either way.
Yeah. Thanks. Amen. Oh, so there was one more thing about that. The dang, I forgot what I was going to say. Anyway, I totally agree with you that having fear or living in fear is not the way to go. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Even if you're vaccinated, the point that I'm making is not that the vaccines don't work. The vaccines are old. They're from a previous, but that even if you're vaccinated, you still have to take care of yourself. You still need the vitamin D, the vitamin C, the zinc, the quercetin, maybe the immune support. That kind of thing is still going to be helpful. You can't sit back and say, well, I'm vaccinated, I'm I can't get it, I'm going to be okay. That's not the case. So you still have to take care of yourself.
I want to transition us into getting some type 2 diabetes questions going here as well. So if you have questions related to diabetes, please put those in the Q&A, and I'll turn it over to Leslie here in a little bit. But I also just wanted to kind of restate sort of our philosophy here. And so Dr. Saunders is a functional MD, a functional doctor, and that means he does his best to get to the root cause of what is actually going on. Like, why do you have diabetes? Why do you have heart problems? Why do you have COVID? All these different things, and then figure it out. And if you can treat the root cause, then you're much more likely to experience success. Whereas, traditional medical system will be like, all right, what drug can we give them to treat that symptom? Well, you might treat a symptom, but then you're going to have side effects as well. And that's like, who wants side effects? I don't think anybody wants to be on medications. And so that's why we try to find nutritional information or nutritional products and resources, dietary things, even fasting, like the benefits of not eating or drinking just water or getting a good night's sleep. We talk about all of that in these webinars, in the diabetes solution kit as well. And so that's our encouragement to you. And I love you, Dr. Saunders, for the truth that you share, and just getting to the root. Like, you have no agenda other than helping people, and that is super rare. So thanks again. It's like the doctors take an oath to do no harm. First, do no harm, right? And yet
somebody asked me that the other day, because I was in my office and I gave him a sample of Synachroma, and I said, this is going to be really good. And he said, how much do you make off of this? Because I told him I formulated it, or I helped formulate it. And he said, how much do you make out of it? And I'm like, zero. I don't make any money off of this. Yep. It's just for your benefit. It's, I'm recommending it because I think it's good.
Yeah, that's 100% true. He doesn't make anything off of the sales or anything. I mean, we do pay you to be a part of our as a medical advisor, but we've been paying you for since 2007, 14 years now. And Synachroma just came out 3 or 4 years ago. And so, yeah. All right. Well, let's get to the questions. This we've got about 27 to 30 minutes left here. And Leslie, over to you.
All right. We have a question here from Facebook. Christopher is asking, what about COVID and diabetes type 2? If I get COVID, will it make my sugar go up?
Okay. any kind of stress can make your sugar go up. And some people that will have a bigger effect than others. So for some people who like they're measuring their sugar and they're trying to keep it down, and then they get any kind of cold or flu or illness, COVID, whatever, then the sugar can shoot way high, and they'll be like 200 to 300 all the time, and it won't come down for anything. Even if they're fasting, it won't come down, because some people are they're when they get those high levels of stress hormones from the illness, then that makes them insulin resistant, and they just can't get any sugar into the cells, so it stays high in the blood for a long time. Don't worry about that. If you have an acute illness and your blood sugar goes up, don't like try really hard to get it down. Like people were injecting extra insulin to try and get it down. They did studies in the hospital of this, where people, they come in sick and they're diabetic, and their blood sugar's like super high, over 300, 400, 500. So they start giving them super high doses of insulin to try and get it down. And what happened was people were getting hypoglycemia, and they would die at a higher rate than people who weren't in tight control. So don't try and freak out and get tight control if you're acutely ill, if you have an illness. Just like, it's okay, let it go, let it be 200 for a while, let it be 300 for a while, that's okay. When your illness goes away, that should all come down. And if it doesn't, then you can start on phase 1 again. And it will.
Okay, good information. Connie is asking, what about fish oil? Is it good or bad? And what kind is best? I've heard that omega krill is the best.
Okay. Think of it this way. Whatever you're eating, including taking a supplement or whatever, the fats, is what your cells are going to be made out of. So your cell walls, the envelope around your cells, called the membrane, is made of fat and cholesterol. So whatever you're eating is what's going to show up in your cells. So if you have a lot of omega-6 fatty acids, then you tend to make the more inflammatory inflammation mediators that cause more inflammation. So you tend to be easily inflamed. Whereas if you have more omega-3, then you tend to suppress that. So this balance between omega-6 and omega-3. Now, which one is the best? Well, they're not interchangeable, but to some extent, your body can make from like arachidonic acid can make the DHA or EPA, which is the omega-3. And so people say, well, this krill oil is the best, absolutely the best. But think of it more in terms of balance. How do I balance out my omega-6 to omega-3? And you can take a supplement, and whether it's fish oil, which if it's a good fish oil, it should tell you, they should analyze and say, this has, 1 gram of omega-3 fatty acids, and it has, 300 milligrams of EPA or DHA, and 700 milligrams of EPA, whatever. It'll say that the krill oil is fine. It's great. There's nothing, but there's nothing magical about it. Yes, it's more concentrated as far as oil goes, as far as having more omega-3, but that's not the issue. Remember, it's balance. In fact, one study showed that if you have too much omega-3, you suppress your immune system, and people tended to get more skin cancers. So it's not like I want the more the better kind of thing. That's not true. It's balance. So think of it as balance, because you could balance out perfectly without any supplements at all. If you're eating like a vegetarian diet, vegan diet, or that any of the animal products that you eat are omega-3, high in omega-3. So if you only eat grass-fed, grass-finished beef and grass-fed chicken, and or that they use fish meal actually in chicken, so omega-3 chicken, omega-3 butters, grass-fed butter. So if you're getting that, guess what? Grass has a ratio of omega-3 is higher than omega-6 in grass. So guess what the oils that the cows are eating are going to have? They're going to have that ratio. Whereas if they're eating corn, it's the opposite. Corn has 6 times more omega-3 or omega-6 than omega-3. So it's balance. So that's what you're looking for.
Today's Fixed Blood Sugar webinar is sponsored by Synachroma, our best-selling advanced blood sugar support formula. Now, thousands of people around the world are taking Synachroma every day as part of their program to fix their blood sugar using natural ingredients that simply work. Now, Dr. Saunders formulated Synachroma to meet key nutritional deficiencies that most people have unknowingly suffered from for far too long. With Synachroma, you get a blend of 6 key ingredients. The perfect combination of chromium, vitamin D3, and vitamin K2, which it's important to take those 2 together, selenium, vanadium, and our 10-to-1 cinnamon bark extract. Now, if you're not already using Synachroma, I highly recommend that you give it a try and see how it helps your energy, your weight, and your blood sugar numbers. You can get Synachroma at bartonnutrition.com or on Amazon. If you get it at bartonnutrition.com, you can enter the coupon code webinar25 and you'll save 25% off at bartonnutrition.com. But I realize some people like to go to Amazon as well. So anyways, Synachroma, highly recommend. Now let's get you back to the Fixed Blood Sugar webinar.
Let's see. Rakat has a couple of questions here. And he has emailed me about this too, but he had said he really wants to work with you, but I think his medical insurance doesn't work with you maybe, or something like that. And he's kind of wondering what to do. And honestly, I feel like he should just ask all of his questions on the webinar. Wouldn't that be the best thing to do? Because then it's free, right? That's what I would do.
Yeah.
But Rakat, are you using the diabetes solution kit already? Because I think often that's where he'll direct you. But what would you recommend, Dr. Saunders?
For what? For
I think he has to, I believe, Rakat, you have type 2, is that correct? And you really would like to work with Dr. Saunders. Is there something specific or specific things you want him to address or help you with? Feel free to send us another message if you can. Okay. Let's see. Deb is wondering what your feelings are on Ulta Labs testing facilities. Hubby did not want another prescription added to the diabetes management, so we tried our own theory, including some of the strategy from your plan and another. It has worked in the fact that he's lost 20 pounds, which has not happened within 20 years, no matter what he did. And his average sugar is now between 100 and 110, which was 135 to 145. We chose the lab as we did not need doctor's order, but we will be using the hospital lab shortly for the doctor to see. The test showed that his A1C is at 5.8, but sugar was 25. The last hospital reading, which was 8 months ago, showed it to be 7.1 with sugar at 155. Should we trust this independent lab result? We're thinking what he is doing now with diet and exercise is working.
Okay. You have a lot of clues as to whether you can trust. Yes, the lab is basically trustworthy. They have to have a margin of error within 10% in order to even even be able to use the test that they have. So there is a margin of error, but if you think about it and you put it all together and you say, okay, there's been a significant weight loss, 20 pounds, that's significant. And then along with that, we're looking at a modest decrease from 140 to 110, 100 to 110, a modest decrease in blood sugar, which it puts them in the near normal range. And the hemoglobin A1C also with an equivalent kind of drop. So in everything is consistent. We're looking at the numbers being consistent. So I think you can trust the lab. And remember, laboratories are not infallible. and none of them are. But they sort of give you an idea. Okay, this is where I was, this is where I am. And that's very helpful. So if you've gone from 7.2 to 5.8, you've gone from diabetes to non-diabetic. That hemoglobin A1C drop is huge. I mean, when you go back to your doctor and you do the test at the hospital lab and you say, you know, my hemoglobin A1C is 5.8, well, that's pre-diabetes. That's not even diabetes by definition. So that's wonderful. You've done a great job.
Awesome. Okay, let's see. Mike says, my question is, if my A1C has been a constant 5.7, but how is this possible when my sugar is never over 120? It usually is under 110 and mostly 90 or so. Extremely low carb, zero sugar, and over 10,000 steps a day on my Fitbit. Thank you and God bless.
Okay, so that's an excellent question. So the principle for blood sugar is not a 1-to-1 ratio of if you eat this much, your blood sugar is going to go up that much. That's not the way the system works. Or if I stop eating, my blood sugar is going to drop down to normal. That's not necessarily the way it works either. Because if you still have insulin resistance and your glucagon is telling your liver to put out extra sugar, you could stop eating and have higher blood sugar. So it's not a simple equation. There's a lot of factors that are involved in this. But so your question, though, is a good one. Why is it always 5.7? Okay, remember the 5.7 is an average over months. So it could be that that even though your fasting blood sugar is always under 120, that after you eat, it might be going up higher. So what happens is, as you start getting a little bit better, you may have a higher range where it's going high after you eat, but then it's going down lower because you're getting more sensitive to the insulin. So the average is going to stay the same, right? It doesn't make, it's like, it makes sense when you think about it. Oh, if my average is like 130 all the time, or around 120, my hemoglobin A1C is going to be 5.7. But if it drops down lower, but it goes up higher, then the average is still the same, right? So that's my guess. I don't know.
Okay, this is good. Let's see. Meg has a couple of questions. I'm going to start with one here. Can you explain how vitamin B6 helps nerve health and damaged peripheral nerves?
Okay. Vitamin B6 is pyridoxine. It's a very important B vitamin for peripheral nerves and circulation. It's necessary for the production of energy in your body. It is also an important methylator, and methyl is just a carbon group that gets attached onto things that are important. So, for example, the methylation is the reason why you can turn on and off genes. They turn on by that. And so the vitamin B6 is important to be able to detoxify things. So one of the things the liver does is add on a methyl group, a carbon onto a toxin, and that renders it non-toxic. The other thing it does is turn on and off genes, but there's other things that B6 is necessary for a lot of the enzymes that make energy in your body. So if you can't make energy, then things don't function. So the B6 has so many different functions that you can't like isolate one and say this is important for diabetes. If you don't have B6, you don't make energy efficiently. And guess what? Diabetes is also a metabolic problem that doesn't allow you to make energy efficiently. And so that they can compound on top of each other if you don't have enough. B6 is really important.
Good. Okay. Let's see, a question from Leo, kind of a comment here too. I have a niece, age 40, taken to the emergency room this morning. They're trying to get her stable to make it possible to amputate per leg. Is there any chance to reverse this problem at this late state?
Oh, that's so hard. Okay. I've had cases like this. People in the nursing home, for example, they come in prior to getting an amputation of their leg or something like that, because we have a rehabilitation facility. So, we do everything we can to try to get them back to normal. But at that late state, it's so hard, and I don't know. You know, I had a patient who had late stage heart disease, and he was so bad that he couldn't walk 10 feet without getting chest pain and having to stop and breathe. And that was like 10 feet literally. And his cardiologist said, after they did the test, they said, if you don't get this surgery, you're going to be dead in a month. And he was like, I don't want the surgery. What can I do? I mean, this is an emergency. And so he did a water fast, ate no food at all, just drank water for 30 days. And at the end of 30 days, he was a tennis pro. He was playing a full game of tennis, full match. And then he would go work out in the gym after that, and he never got any more chest pain. It's been 3 years and he's had no more chest pain. So it's the only time I've seen an emergency blood vessel improvement actually work, and I've never had anybody else do that. So I can't tell you that would work for everyone. But so something like that in an emergency kind of a situation, especially if they're overweight and they can tolerate 30 days of water only. And then the other thing would be the Nervala is specifically made to repair the blood vessels and improve circulation so that the nerves can start functioning again. So those are the two things that I would say. Otherwise, I throw up my hands and go, well, you know, that it is late. You're right. And so I don't know what kinds of emergency measures you can take beyond that.
Okay. Let's see. Question here. Is it okay to, this is from Gavin, is it okay to consume turmeric spice as opposed to our turmeric BP?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I wrote an article on turmeric for the home cures that work. If you get that, if you're on that membership, and it's a great article. I did a lot of research on it and found, oh my gosh, turmeric works for diabetes really well. However, yes, you can just take the spice, and that does work. But when they did the studies, the curcumin, the extract, the isolated extract, worked better. Now, in the article that I wrote, I give the explanation. You know, I think that there's something about the whole herb that has a lot of benefits to it. However, for diabetes, it was better to have that curcumin. So what we did in turmeric BP is we put them together. You have the whole herb and you have the curcumin. So and then you also have the black pepper, the BioPerine, which multiplies the effect by 2,000%. You know, it increases dramatically the absorption of that curcumin turmeric. So yes, you can, and it does seem to work. The extract seems to work better, and so that's why we made the turmeric BP instead of just saying go out and sprinkle some turmeric on your food.
Okay, question from Krish. Let's see, where is it at? Oh, how much butyric acid can I take? Most nutrition product makers carry only GABA and not butyric acid. So much butyric acid per day. How much should one take?
Okay. Gamma aminobutyric acid, GABA, is actually, it doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier very well. If you have a leaky blood-brain barrier, it seems to work okay. And everybody's a little different as to whether GABA is going to work. And then the butyric acid, you know what? I don't know dose of that. I've had several supplements and people use it, but I don't recall exactly how much they were using. So I'm sorry, I can't address that. But butyric acid, I've found people like with sleep problems, anxiety problems, they can't shut off their mind at night. There are a few people that's helped a lot.
Okay, another question is, which BP products act against stress?
Oh, well, turmeric would act against stress. The immune support has several things in it to decrease stress, because you need to decrease stress for the immune support. The problems of stress, if you have good chromium, vanadium, and selenium and vitamin D found in the synachroma, those all help you get more energy in spite of stress. So those are the supplements, though. But you know what? Don't use supplements for stress. If you're stressed, you should deal with the stress. And if you need meditation, exercise, if you need vacation or focus, or taking care of yourself is better, and not thinking that a pill's going to fix that stress problem. Although, ashwagandha has been very helpful for stress.
Real quick sidebar, but we were talking about COVID and the Delta variant, and I saw this from actually a friend of mine. His sister has terminal cancer. Anyways, she posted something that said, I'm not worried about the Delta variant because I have the Alpha and the Omega, and he covers everything in between. So but
that's great.
Yeah, but having faith and faith in God and trusting in him, like Jesus said, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. That means you can come to him and give him your problems, and he's already taken care of them for you. So it's just a matter of us stepping out in faith and giving them to him, and not taking on the burdens of this world. Because man, look around. Yeah, there's plenty to be stressed about, but we're not created to take that stress on. So not so much. There's a healthy level of stress that we should have. But yeah, not too much. So cast all your cares upon him, for he cares for you. All right, Preacher Joe, back out.
All right, that's good. Okay, so Rakat wanted to come meet with you. He's actually just wondering what kind of insurance you accept. So what would be the best way for him to figure that out?
Well, I guess call the office, 805-688-7171. And they're the ones who do the billing and have the insurance information.
And I'll post that here in just a moment. Okay. Oh my goodness, you guys, so many questions today. We're gonna have to do another webinar with just questions because we have so many. All right, let's see. This one comes up a lot. My blood glucose level is higher in the morning when I eat at 6:30 than the evening. And okay, let me start over. Why is my blood glucose level higher in the morning when I eat at 6:30 the evening before and take my metformin at bedtime?
Okay. The question of why is too complex for me to be sure. But if you eat at 6:30 in the evening, then you're going to have a longer period of time where your blood sugar can drop down. And if it drops down low, then you'll release glucagon, which tells your liver to make more sugar so that you raises your blood sugar up. So that's my best guess. That's the way the system is set up, that if you start dropping low, you actually have a way of taking sugar from the inside. So your blood sugar doesn't just have to do with what you just ate. There's a lot of factors involved in that.
All right. William is asking, what is the truth about TRT? Metformin crushed my testosterone and B12 levels. I quit taking metformin and made the doctor change my medication, and I have been taking glipizide since. I was able to raise my B12 levels, but raising the testosterone level has been harder to raise. My doctor's help was to hand me a sample of Cialis. I want the health benefits of normal testosterone.
Oh, gosh, we could do a lot on this. This is actually kind of important. Testosterone is one of the anabolic hormones. So we talked about the 610 reset. During the day, we're catabolic. We make stress hormones like cortisol, adrenaline, epinephrine. We're working. It's light outside. We're doing stuff. We're eating, and all of those things, they wear down our body. Right? We're using it just like when you're driving a car. You're using it. Well, at night, what we get to do that the car doesn't get to do is repair. Now we get to repair every night. That's the anabolic state. And the anabolic hormones include testosterone is one of them. Human growth hormone is another one. And then there's others like melatonin and ghrelin. And those hormones help us to repair our bodies. So yes, you do want testosterone to repair your body. And the best way to do that is, first of all, do phase 1 of the program. Phase 1 of the program gets your carbohydrates way down, so it pushes your insulin down, so you stop making the belly fat, which converts your testosterone into estrogen. And that balance of testosterone and estrogen is really more important than the total amount. And so people who have an imbalance of testosterone to estrogen, and then they start getting injections of testosterone, they just take that and move it up, and they didn't help themselves at all. They have a higher level, but they still have more estrogen, so their balance isn't any better. So changing that balance, phase 1 of the program is the first thing to do to get that balance. Second thing to do is the 610 reset and have a good circadian rhythm. Stop eating at 6 o'clock, go to bed by 10, make sure you're getting anabolic every night. Then that will stimulate your anabolic hormones to start being built. So those are the first 2 things to do. We could do hours on this, but that's just a basic thing.
Today's Fixed Blood Sugar webinar is sponsored by Synachroma, our best-selling advanced blood sugar support formula. Now, thousands of people around the world are taking Synachroma every day as part of their program to fix their blood sugar using natural ingredients that simply work. Now, Dr. Saunders formulated Synachroma to meet key nutritional deficiencies that most people have unknowingly suffered from for far too long. With Synachroma, you get a blend of 6 key ingredients. The perfect combination of chromium, vitamin D3, and vitamin K2, which it's important to take those 2 together, selenium, vanadium, and our 10-to-1 cinnamon bark extract. Now, if you're not already using Synachroma, I highly recommend that you give it a try and see how it helps your energy, your weight, and your blood sugar numbers. You can get Synachroma at bartonnutrition.com or on Amazon. If you get it at bartonnutrition.com, you can enter the coupon code webinar25 and you'll save 25% off at bartonnutrition.com. But I realize some people like to go to Amazon as well. So anyways, Synachroma, highly recommend. Now let's get you back to the Fixed Blood Sugar webinar.
All right. This is so good, Dr. Saunders. We know you need to get back with your patients, so thank you so much for hopping on today. I think Joe and I will stick around for a minute, but you're awesome. Yes. I appreciate you so much.
You can answer all the questions.
Yeah, we got it.
We're on episode 102 now. We're pros.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Saunders.
All right. See ya.
Take care. See you next time.
Joe, do you have the diabetes solution kit next to you?
I cannot have it next to me, but I can get one in 10 seconds.
Oh, yeah, mine's across the room too.
Yeah.
But I just want to remind you guys that this is the number one recommendation. This is where the program starts, the diabetes solution kit. So those of you who maybe have come to the webinar for the first time, you're not even really sure what we're talking about, and you just didn't know why we were talking about, vaccines and COVID. We talk about type 2 diabetes every single week on our webinar. And most of the discussion is in reference to this diabetes solution kit. Now, this is really easy to find. You can go to bartonwebinar.com. You'll find a link to this. What's the price?
Yeah,
1997.
the digital version is 1997, and if you want to get the printed copy, it's an extra $20, I do believe. So yeah, this has got the entire program in there. So many questions answered in here, 120 plus pages, recipe guides, grocery list, exercise components, talks about stress relief and measuring, journaling, coming up with your reason why. So much good information in there. So if you don't have a copy of this, like, this is definitely step one. Follow this. We talk about in phase one is lower your carbohydrates to 20 grams per day or less, and that's net grams. And so that means carbs minus fiber. And so that's super low carbohydrate. But Dr. Saunders has talked about the kitchen sink analogy. And if you have type 2 diabetes, it's similar to a kitchen sink that is overflowing onto your floor because the sink is clogged. And the traditional way of fixing that is giving people insulin or metformin, but all that's doing is mopping up the extra spillage of the sink on the floor. It's not doing anything about the clogged sink part of it. And so when you lower your carbohydrates, you're getting rid of you're turning off the water of the sink. So there's no more energy coming in. Your body starts burning the energy that it's already stored in its cells, and too much sugar and energy and fat in your body. So it gets your body burning that energy off first. And then you can start working on the insulin resistance, which is what's causing the clogged sink. And so you can do that. Your body repairs itself in that as well. And also Synachroma is our top selling supplement. This helps with insulin resistance. Also Nervala does as well. Magnesium does as well. So there's a lot of other things that you can do to help with that. So just wanted to, reiterate that.
And if you were to go to Dr. Saunders' office, these are the things that he would recommend that you do. And so, we have so many people who want to be patients of his, but this is what he's going to ask you to do. So this is kind of like a much cheaper way. Is that okay to say?
Mhm.
Cheaper way to get started.
Sure.
So definitely look into this. If you're someone, even if you don't have type 2, this is still really good prevention. And so check it out. Lots of information at bartonwebinar.com. Also a link there to all of our past YouTube videos. You guys, you can get an education on our YouTube videos. So head there. What a great way to spend free time that you have, because I have learned so much from these. So
I'm excited we get to talk to Brian right after we finish up here. We're gonna interview him on Zoom privately, but he's got an amazing story to tell and to share. So if you have a story to share as well, we'd love to hear that from you. Sometime we could hop on a Zoom call, record it, and then we share it with other people, because people like to hear success stories. It gives them encouragement, and it shows them that, hey, if they can do it, so can I. And so, Brian, looking forward to talking to you. I wanted to try to answer a few more of these questions that have come in. So I'm not a doctor, but I play one on the internet sometimes. So that's part of the disclaimer here. But no, some of these I can answer just because I've heard Dr. Saunders answer them a lot. But Meg, I wanted to get to yours. So we sent out an email that had a deadline last night of 10 o'clock for Synachroma and immune support, where you buy 6 immune support and you get 6 free bottles of Synachroma. So that we can probably get that extended for you, and I'll make sure that we can. So I think the link will probably still work right now. So I would say, and if not, just reach out to us. You can email us at support@bartonpublishing.com, and they'll be happy to help you with that as well, Meg. So you also had a question, can we take in more cinnamon than is in Synachroma? and is it Ceylon cinnamon or cassia as the extract in that formula? So yes, I've never heard of anyone having a problem overdosing on cinnamon. The only way that it might be problematic is if you inhale it and breathe it in. So we've had people that actually, we had someone that was making a video for us and they inhaled it and then coughed it out and they had problems with their lungs. So don't do that. But yeah, cinnamon is a food, and so your body will digest what it needs and eliminate the rest. And really, that's like all of our supplements. Is you can't really overdose on any of it. There's people ask about vitamin D, if you can have too much of that, and really the answer for that is if you don't take it with vitamin K, then yes, it can cause some problems, but we have vitamin K2 in our Chroma product. And so really, like, honestly, I wouldn't have a problem if my kids got into this or my dog or something and took a whole bottle, like you wouldn't have any problems. So again, I'm not a doctor, but like these are all like foods. It's like, yeah, don't take it all at once, but it really is kind of like food. So food grade ingredients. Okay, so comment about, okay, let me think here, see. What do you think about Roy Taylor's method for diabetes type 2? Promotes the idea that the liver and pancreas have high lipids, which cause diabetes. Cures to reduce I'm thinking food intake to about 800 calories per day for about a month. So Dr. Saunders has talked about restricted calories, and typically either lowering your fat or lowering your carbs to near zero, one or the other. Both of those work well. We promote more the keto, which is lowering carbs and having higher fat, but he's also talked about how you can have a high carb and low fat diet that's worked for some people as well. So, but we recommend more of the keto side of that, which is a higher fat, medium protein, and low carbohydrates. So, and I'm not familiar with Roy Taylor's method. So, okay, let's see, Joylyn. See, blood sugar test was 303, prescribed metformin, also antidepressant for the pain in my feet. I'm not sure why they'd give you an antidepressant for pain in your feet. Haven't taken the medication because I don't want to. Also, I don't take any medication. That's my life. That is my life too, Joylyn. I try to avoid medications. I know, about the side effects, the toxicity of it, the risks, and it's like, why take medications if you know that there are natural remedies that work and are effective? So I'm with you there. That's what we're all about. Okay, let's see, Johanna, if you're new to this, so you don't overload your system all at once, what vitamins would you prescribe to start and then slowly work other vitamins in? Well, I don't know for sure, like, there's all sorts of vitamins that you can take, but Dr. Saunders, first thing he ever came up with was Chroma. This has the 6 key ingredients, and 4 of them are nutrients and minerals that we don't currently get in our diet, including selenium, vanadium, chromium, and that vitamin K2. So those 4 things, plus the vitamin D3 and the cinnamon bark extract, that's where he has people start. Sometimes if you can just meet those deficiencies that your body is craving because it doesn't get it from food sources, that can take care of problems amazingly well. And so he also is a big, proponent of testing levels and really getting clear on where things are at. If you have deficiencies, he's given me blood tests before to look at different things for me as well. He talks about getting the insulin test, C-peptide and insulin, I believe, to check for insulin resistance as well. But Chroma, this is like, we've got thousands of people that take this every month, and are on the monthly auto ship program, you can sign up for that on bartonnutrition.com. You can also find us on Amazon there as well. It's a little bit cheaper on our own website, especially if you use that webinar 25 coupon code. So, okay, let's see. We had a question about celery juice. I don't know what to tell you about that other than I'm not a big celery fan, but I know it's healthy for you. So, Leslie, what do you think of celery juice?
It's been a big trend. I don't know where the question is or what they're asking. Probably what Dr. Saunders thinks
Benefits of it. Yeah.
There's a lot. I know, is it the medical medium, I think, who really promotes that? And I know a lot of people who have found success with it. So I'm not sure if Dr. Saunders is familiar with it. I don't think it can hurt.
Yeah. Joylyn had a question about hyperthyroidism. I would direct you to one of our webinars that we recorded where we talked about the thyroid. So just go to our YouTube channel. It's called Barton Webinar, and we link to it from bartonwebinar.com. I think it's called Barton Webinar. It's something like that. We'll look in a minute here.
I don't know why I can't remember the title of it either, but there's a link to it at bartonwebinar.com.
Yes, there you go. So that was a whole topic of discussion. So every other week we try to cover like something beyond just the basics of type 2. So I think this week was non-basics, right? Today we kind of got into COVID and got a couple people a little hot under the covers about that. But hey, that's what we do. We don't just talk about type 2. That we're complex organisms here, and so we like to stay relevant and talk about other things as well. And all of it really affects our stress levels and our blood sugar and what we eat and all that kind of stuff. So, all right. I think I answered. Okay, so the Ceylon cinnamon or cassia. Pretty sure we use cassia in that's the type of cinnamon that's in Cinnachroma. I'd have to go back and check. I get the two confused. They both start with a C. So I believe cassia is the more common form, and that is the type of cinnamon that was used in the studies that Dr. Saunders researched. And so that's what we went with as well. And that's the other thing too, like Dr. Saunders uses the exact measurements and amounts that are used in the studies that show effectiveness of these ingredients. So that's something that differentiates us from a lot of other supplements. You might see a blood sugar formula out there, but they might just have a small trace of chromium or a small trace of cinnamon that isn't even going to be effective, but they put it in their product just to say that it's in there. But our products have the actual clinical amounts that are effective in the studies that he that he researched and studied. So, okay, let's see. A question from Mary Beth. After starting phase 1 on June 5th, my labs on July 21st. Blood sugar equals 12, BP, blood pressure 120/80, lost 20 pounds, off metformin. Thank you for all you do. Okay. Oh, not a question, it said. So yeah, no, that's like testimonial. So awesome. That's great. Your blood pressure is like perfect. You lost 20 pounds. You're off metformin. Amazing. Mary Beth, congratulations. Way to go. Round of applause. So love it. And Mary Beth, if you want to email Leslie at bartonpublishing.com, maybe we can set up a time to hear your story. We'd love to hop on Zoom privately sometime, just like we're going to with Brian here in a minute. And Brian, this is gonna be wrapping up real quick, so hope you're ready. Okay. Coney, how often should I take broth? Every day? I guess that, we talk about, Dr. Saunders talks about bone broth as something really good to have while you're fasting because it gives you the nutrients that your body needs. And so I would say you can take it every day, but mostly for those times where you're doing extended fasting. And we love fasting because it gets your body to repair itself and get rid of the excess sugar and energy that it's stored up and excess fat. So it's a great way to jumpstart things. And we've talked about fasting on prior webinars as well. So you can find that on our YouTube channel. So, all right. Did I miss anything, Leslie? I think I got most of them in the Q&A there. I was going to give Dr. Saunders' office number again if you want to call his office. I'm not 100% sure if he's taking new patients, and I don't know the status of his insurance that he can take, but you can call them 805-688-7171, and you can talk to one of his nurses or administrative people there. So, all right. Well, I think we've covered it, and hope you guys, thanks for staying on. So many people still here, so appreciate it. Again, if you have a story that you'd like to share, email Leslie at bartonpublishing.com, and she'll help to set up a time for us to chat with you. Otherwise, thanks for joining us today. Remember to walk by faith and not in fear. So important. Keep those stress levels down. Enjoy nature. We're in a time of year right now where it's nice outside everywhere, and get some sunshine, go for walks, socialize with your friends and family, and we'll see you guys next week at same time, same place, Thursday, 11 a.m. bartonwebinar.com to register. All right. Thanks, Leslie. Now to Brian.
Yeah, Brian, I would say probably in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Different link?
Yep, I emailed both of you a link. The time
All
might
right.
be wrong on it, but just click the link.
All right, we'll be there. I need a bio break anyways. So
Okay.
all right. Bye everyone.
Bye.